1. I don't use my driveway for my own car as I don't have one. Can't afford it. My driveway is next to the neighbor's driveway. Now, there are no garages on either property. There's only space for one car on either property. So 2 cars side by side, one owned by my house and the other space for one from her house. She's had a second car for a while now because she let her extremely abusive husband back into her life. About 6 or so months ago, I got the police to tell her to move her car and stop blocking our driveway. For a good while, they did so without a ticket, just a warning. I was happy to see this. See, one car is an SUV, kind of short. The other is a minivan, long. All they have to do is put the minivan up the driveway and the SUV ends up half out on the easement on their property and half on the sidewalk. Still a dick move, but not my problem. Within the last few weeks, they've started getting too lazy to move their cars around, playing musical cars as it were, and just parking the minivan with his butt over half of my driveway. I don't use my driveway, no, but I have deliveries and other such people come over and use it every now and then. I shouldn't have to go over and ask for her to move her stupid van. The police here don't bother writing tickets for a lot of stuff that should be enforced. Frankly, I don't care about most of it. And I wouldn't care about my neighbor blocking part of the access to my drive except their buttheads. There's probably 20 feet between our houses, maybe more or less, and they've got a dog they've never bothered to train. The start of my beef with her was over her damn dog being outside for as long as the sun was up, barking. So damn annoying. I have an elderly mother. She takes naps, as all elderly people do. The damn dog barks loud and was bothering my mother. So I went over and asked her if she could take the dog in, and not leave it out for so long because my mother wants to nap. Not a big ask, I thought. But apparently I was in the wrong for bothering to ask her to do so. She slammed the door in my face, and thus our feud ensued. I'm a petty person. First I tried asking the cops to get her to stop the dog, but they can't be bothered. It isn't a big enough deal for them, I guess. Animal control, same thing. So I was cornered, and thanks to this group I found a solution to that problem. A stop barking device that you hold in your hand, point and shoot. Makes a loud noise so the dog can hear and causes a mild discomfort for the short duration of the beep. They used to use my grass as a place to exit their cars onto, and to go around their car because they had no space. I had them trespassed, so that's not plausible for them anymore, and then the car thing started to really bother me and, you know, as a petty person, I wasn't going to let it stand, so I got that solved. But now they're doing it again, and I'm very tempted to call the police back because, hell yeah, she needs a nice ticket to remind her she can't just block my driveway access without permission, which she'll never get. They're loud, obnoxious, and have 5 kids. They don't work. The only reason they've not left is because they can't find another place that has rent as low as their current home. I hate them with all my being. Not the kids. I don't blame them. 2. My apartment complex is by far the worst I have ever lived in, despite paying a lot of money and being in a good part of town. I could go on and on about all the problems I've had. My car was stolen out of the parking lot, bats have lived and died on my balcony for 2 years, and the leasing office has refused to do anything about it. There is constantly mold and roaches, you get the picture. But boy oh boy, you would not believe the trauma I've had to endure from my neighbors. One was a 27-year-old drug addict and dealer who moved in next to me and immediately started causing problems. He would blast music that would make my walls shake all night, shout and scream and be tweaking out on his balcony constantly, throw full pieces of furniture like tables over his balcony, and have them explode on the ground below, and generally be a lunatic. All of which I reported to the police with video evidence and was subsequently ignored. Then one night I heard what sounded like a freight train hitting our shared walls at 4 a.m. I went to knock on his door, and before I even could, it flung open and he and another guy, who it turned out was squatting in his apartment, were bloodied and had each other pinned to the ground in chokeholds. Sexy. And had completely demolished their apartment. I called 911, who took over an hour to get there, In the meantime, the squatter ended up outside with a fire extinguisher, which he used as a battering ram to try to break the neighbor's door down. When the neighbor stepped out, he swung at him, then at me, and then the neighbor grabbed a vodka bottle and smashed it over his head. Natch. He ended up bleeding out all over my porch, so I was compressing his open wound when the cops finally showed up, and the other guy made a run for it. After this, despite five more calls to the cops, due to repeated crazed threats from the neighbor that he would kill me and similar psychotic behavior, it took the complex 7 bloody months to evict him. I've obviously been wanting to get out for a while, and was waiting until my lease expired. I already got a new apartment and was living there, and went back to do the last bit of cleaning and to turn in my keys on Saturday. I was mopping my bedroom floor, walked out to get something from the kitchen, and not even 15 seconds later heard what sounded like an explosion behind me. I had no idea what happened, so I went back to the bedroom to see a hole had been blasted through the floor, and a 9mm bullet was laying right where my bed used to be, and right where I had just been cleaning. The cops came out and determined that my downstairs neighbor must have accidentally discharged one of his many. They found at least 6 firearms in his apartment, including a sniper rifle, guns, and almost killed me the very day I was trying to escape that hellhole for good. The complex manager was laughing about the whole ordeal, had a nasty attitude with me, and fought me over giving me my security deposit back because of the bullet hole in the floor. And then the day after, there was almost a $600 charge for damages in my resident portal, and prorated rent, despite having turned keys in on the first of the month. Let's just say my subsequent cash-out was warranted, and they are removing the charges and mailing me the security deposit back. 3. I need to vent, but I also need some opinions and thoughts on my situation. I'm currently a student, in my first year at university, and I live in a rented studio flat far away from home. This block of flats is very old, and all the accommodations are 12-meter squared studios, a tiny room with a dwarf bathroom, and I just discovered that the walls and floors are extremely thin. For context, before I came here I lived in a detached house in a village, so I'm not used to walking on my tiptoes in order to not upset my neighbors. I'm on the 3rd floor. I'm in the first months of living here. There was no one above me on the top floor, the 4th. I'm sure of this because since the pipes in the bathroom are exposed, not hidden in the walls, I couldn't hear any from the neighbor above. You could normally hear the water running and draining very loudly through them. Under me, on the 2nd floor, there is someone in, because I can hear the pipes vibrating a bit when they turn on the water underneath, even if I can't hear it draining. Whenever I use the water for too long, the neighbor under me hits the pipes with something heavy. If I don't stop the water, they would hit the other pipes, all around the bathroom. P.S. There are 3 sets of pipes, one for the tap water, one for the shared central heating, and a big one for the toilet. I usually stop the water whenever they do that, because it quite scares me a bit, to be honest. Therefore, I'm rather afraid to turn the water back on. I'm used to using the water quite a bit, maybe too much. Washing the dishes, toothbrushing, toilet, obviously. Washing my face, my hands, showering, such extravagances. But I always try to limit the usage and make it quick, just because of them. The thing is that some days when I just turn the water on for a tiny bit, after being quiet for hours, they just go straight to hitting the pipe. And I get frustrated, because it's not as if it was running for hours, but actually just some seconds. Recently, someone has moved in on the floor above me. They rarely turn the water on, 3 to 5 times per day, including the toilet. I don't know how they managed to do that, but yeah. And do keep in mind that since the pipes are going straight down, and are exposed, not in the walls, the neighbor under me can even hear the water from everyone above them, including the 4th floor above me. I never heard a hit when they turned on the water, though. Now, there is one more thing. Those 2 neighbors, below and above me, are very quiet. They never speak, since they live alone just like everyone else in this block of studios. They rarely even move things around in their room. So I never had the chance to experience how loud you can hear the noises from the neighbors here. Me, on the other hand, I talk in my phone sometimes, not shouting, just speaking normally. I watch YouTube without headphones, but on low to medium volume. I walk around the room, but I never considered myself as being loud or something. Still, now I'm wondering, are my neighbours hearing my every step? Is that what annoys them? This came to mind after they hit the pipes tonight at 8 p.m, the strongest ever. I was talking on my phone with my mum for half an hour, and then went to wash my tea mug, and as soon as I turned the tap on, my neighbour below me hit the heating pipes with something hard, and then went to hit the big toilet pipe. I immediately turned the tap off in shock and fear. Then I hear a granny shouting, "People can't even rest because of you." It was the first time I ever heard her. That's when it crossed my mind that maybe she was always able to hear me, and when she got sick of it, she waited for me to turn the water on, so she'd have a reason to inquire and just hit the pipes. I am now quite afraid to go to the bathroom. I am very polite and hate to annoy or disrupt others around me. I'm even afraid that she was always able to hear everything, every conversation, every private moment, everything. I never considered the walls to be as thin as this. That's why I wasn't more careful with sounds except for running water, which I consider to be her sole problem. Now, not only will I have to avoid using the bathroom as much as possible, but also be quiet and careful when moving around. My mum suggests that I should hit the pipes back or tell her to stop, but honestly I'm too afraid and don't like to engage in arguments. Besides, I'm sure that this would only make the situation worse. Am I the problem? Nope. Is this how you should behave in a block of flats? Nope. Just sit very quiet and rarely make any sound, even if it's not that loud? I'm genuinely asking. I don't have any experience with blocks of flats. As I told you, coming from a detached house. Hellfreezer's note. Don't do any of that. Just do the things. Just live a normal life as a normal person would do. I think what you need to do to fix your pipe problem is the next time she starts making noise, obviously start recording it, how often it happens, then contact your landlord and let them know there's clearly a problem with the pipes in this flat, because every time you turn a tap on, there's no noise coming from you, but there's a massive rattling coming from below you. So there's obviously some sort of blockage or something that really needs to be addressed. Sounds like you might be in the UK. Not 100% sure, but you did say mum, so it could be the UK. And you do have probably more rights in the UK as a tenant than you would if you were in somewhere like the US. So your landlord definitely should be maintaining the quality of the plumbing in your flat. If it proves to be something that can't be fixed with a little bit of engineering, then maybe flushing the old lady out would be the best solution for everyone. But no, it's not normal to sit in a very sedentary fashion in your place and not move or make any noise whatsoever. You're just living your life. What I'd suggest is a stopgap measure of just get yourself a really good pair of noise-cancelling headphones, like a Bose QC35 or something like that, and have that on while you're just doing stuff in the apartment. That way you should hear the noise less. It won't block it out entirely, but it will make her noise less. You're not the problem here. She is. Some people, especially older people, are very sensitive to sound. I mean, when I'm not feeling well, I can get very irritable and sensitive to sound, but especially when I'm recording, I can be irritable. Maybe I'm just irritable. But this isn't about me. This is about the old twister that lives below you. So I document everything and take action against her in an official and legal capacity if you are able. So go through the proper channels, contact your landlord, let them know she's disrupting your life there. Because what she's doing is harassment. 4. Anyone have any tips on how to resolve the following? I have a downstairs neighbour, Bob, who has a very loud voice. It started with him gaming from roughly 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. I could not sleep. Apparently Bob doesn't either. One night I got the courage to knock on his door and very politely asked him if he could quiet down. Excuse me, by keeping the noise down a bit. That'd be much appreciated. Since I can hear him and can't sleep. He was a bit defensive, saying he works night shifts so he games on his days off. Okay. Convo ended vaguely and I went back upstairs, thinking things were good. He started back up. The next morning I got an email from my landlord saying he thinks what I did was fine and reasonable, but Bob requested I do not knock on his door again. So, began a 3 to 4 month period of me not getting sleep, letting my landlord know he would send Bob a warning in emails. It would not work. I even sent him a few written notes, friendly and polite, with my number included. Oh, don't do that. For resolution, since he doesn't do it face-to-face. Asking if we could just resolve somehow like adults. A compromise. No response. Landlord kept suggesting I call the police. Yes, definitely. So, one night around 1 a.m., I called the cops, explained the situation. The cop talked to Bob, then went up to me. He said Bob had no idea he was bothering me, which is a lie, which will be confirmed by your landlord, that his noise levels are not quite loud enough to be a violation. He is just talking, after all. He did, however, tell him to be more cautious. I was a bit stunned and just said okay. As soon as he left, I realized the dispatch guy must not have relayed the story, because Bob definitely knew he was bothering me. Bob kept making noise at night and keeping me up. Landlord offered to have me moved despite saying I should not have to be the one to move. I know that would solve the issue, but guys, I love my apartment, love the location, and the view, and there's other more personal reasons for me to stay. I learned that Bob has a drinking issue. He has been moved by the landlord already due to previous noise complaints, and has been thrown out of local bars for being obnoxious. After the cop incident, there were a few more situations. Example, him playing music late at night outside and being obviously drunk when I went on my balcony to ask him to, again politely, turn it down. He was being really odd and asking me to do push-ups and trying to hand me a flower vase. When I declined, he walked it up to my door. I don't want flowers, I just want peace and quiet. Anyhow, there was a pause when he was good for a few months, and then ramped up again recently. I sent him one last note attempting an amicable resolution. Once again, it took everything I had to word it in a way that was calm and polite but still assertive. I emailed a copy to my landlord as always. Landlord was not happy with Bob and asked to talk to him, this time in person. Bob lost it. I heard him banging on the walls, slamming doors downstairs. My doorbell rang a few times. I ignored it. Then, at lunchtime, I got 2 missed calls from an unknown number. He left a voicemail saying, "Quiet down, stop making all that ruckus, I'm trying to sleep." Then I got a text message, "Nobody cares." I promptly blocked him and let my landlord know. Honestly felt kinda unsafe now since he's a bit unstable. Landlord let me know that Bob was there yelling, clearly inebriated, that he had asked Bob to lower his voice several times. Landlord told me they discussed releasing him from his lease and that he'd move elsewhere. Also that if it continues, he's giving him a 5-day noise violation. Things seemed very hopeful. Until I got another email from my landlord basically saying that if we want him out, we need the police to issue a noise violation against him. Considering my initial police call, maybe I'm deluding myself that I don't think they will. They will if you have evidence. He is loud, but it's every now and then. So, he could be quiet for 10 to 12 minutes, and then boom, a loud laugh yelling out that wakes me up, or he just sounds like he's shifting furniture down there, or he's having a full-on conversation, which during the day is not bothersome. But when it's dead quiet, and all you can hear is his muffled voice rising and falling in jarring tones, I just can't sleep. I wish I could. Things I tried. Headphones and earplugs. Works best, but I can still hear him sometimes, and I have a hard time falling asleep with it on. Fair. Background sleep music, I can still hear him. Making peace with it, meditating. Seeing it as a calming sound, sadly nope, but I really tried. Knocking on the floor, he knocks back or ignores it. Sleeping in another room, I can hear him in every room. Sometimes, if he's not too loud, my far closet works. But I do not want to sleep in my closet. Talking to him or trying to resolve together, he does not respond to me. Moving, I do not want to move. Calling cops, not considered a valid noise violation, at least per this one cop visit. Landlord involvement, support but not much power it seems. So yeah, I don't want to be seen as an uptight neighbor, but I can't help that I can't sleep. Also, given his history, it looks like others have had the same issues with him. I feel helpless though, like if he's loud and keeps me up, what can I do? I already tried all these things above. Okay, Hellraiser's note. You do need to try the noise violation thing again. Just saying that he's making noise is not good enough. What are the cops going to do with that? There's no proof. You've given them no proof. They spoke to him, they did what they could in that situation. You need to get some kind of noise meter. When he's making noise, record it so you can see the level that he's going up to. And if it's above what the noise ordinance is for those hours, that's your proof. Do that as often as you have to get a nice little collection of them, then call the cops, say that you do have evidence, and then file your noise complaint. Then they might be able to do what they need to get the paperwork to get him kicked out. Now, I did see some people in the Reddit comments suggesting you retaliate against him. Do not do that. You cannot look like the aggressor here. Because all it will take is for him to call the cops at the right time or do the kind of things I've just suggested you do, then you're the problem. Then you're getting kicked out of your apartment. So don't do that. Don't ever listen to people on Reddit. Unless it's like a Python tutorial or something. Those are occasionally quite good. So it says, I always say to people in these situations, document, 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 or data, data, data. You cannot make bricks without clay. You need evidence. Get the evidence. Then the police will be able to do something. 5. I moved into my rental in September, and since then, it's been an absolute nightmare. From the start I noticed issues, mice, poor air quality, and a unit that desperately needed deep cleaning. I flagged these concerns to my landlord in November, but nothing was done. Fast forward to January. My downstairs neighbour, I'll get to her in a second, brought bed bugs into the building. Yes. Now I'm dealing with cockroaches, silverfish, mice, and bed bugs all at once. I've spent over $100 a month on pest control supplies, diatomaceous earth, steel wool, caulking, etc. Yet my landlord only took action when I mentioned the bed bugs. We received treatment 2 weeks ago, but I have no update on when this will actually be resolved. I've barely left my house this past month because of the infestation. On top of that, the air quality is horrible. The vents smell like mold and I started getting sick. I reported this in November and my landlord claimed they'd address it immediately. Nothing has happened. I followed up in January, still no action, and I doubt they'll do anything. Now, for the biggest issue, my downstairs neighbor. She is a 70-year-old woman who I believe has mental health problems. She has been harassing me since moving in, banging on my door at inappropriate hours, Friday nights, Saturday mornings, and Sundays. Other times during my work hours, 9 to 5. She loves to knock when my girlfriend comes over. She constantly forces us to interact. She waits for me to leave with my dog on our afternoon walks. When she hears my car door lock, she runs outside to talk to me. She is constantly finding a reason to talk to me. She yells in front of my unit when she goes to do her laundry. 3 weeks ago, she knocked on my door, and when I didn't answer, she waited for me to take my dog on a walk. My girlfriend and I took the dog in the afternoon. She comes up to me and says, "You didn't answer your door earlier." And I said I was busy. And then she decides to drop that she has bed bugs. She brought the bed bugs and then continued to spread them by doing her laundry in front of my door and leaving her infested clothes everywhere. She kept harassing me after giving me bed bugs, leaving notes under my door, catching me doing my laundry, coming up to me after my grocery shopping. Overall, she constantly touches my things, monopolizes the laundry machines 24/7, and even goes through my garage and tells me about it. My landlord finally sent her a warning last week, and she's been quiet since, but I have a feeling this will escalate again, even if she stops harassing me. I don't trust her hygiene and fear another bedbug outbreak. To top it all off, my oven just stopped working, and my landlord still hasn't responded or provided a repair date. At this point, the place is draining my finances. I want to leave by April 1st to rebuild my savings. I'm paying February rent tomorrow and planning to use my last month's rent for March. What's my best course of action? Should I file a claim through the LTB, Landlord and Tenant Board? Or should I try negotiating directly with my landlord? And when should I tell him? Would love any advice from those who have been through something similar. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Naughty Neighbours episode 30. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go today, if you would be so good as to subscribe, if you haven't already done so, I'd appreciate that. And if you want to be even gooderer, you can like the video. And if you want to be the gooderest, then you can support the channel by joining me on my Patreon. $1 a month is very helpful. More is even better. And you can also leave a little tip if you would like to do so on a more one-off basis by clicking the heart with a $sign underneath the video. That is, of course, not or ever required, but it is appreciated. Okay, I don't think we have any other bits and bobs today, so let's move along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question comes from our friend Yukum via the Discord. Do you have a favourite episode of The Twilight Zone? I'm trying to think. I'm probably more familiar with The Twilight Zone from, I want to say, the 80s, early 90s. Was that what it was? There was one with Sal Rubnik. I think it involves I think that was my favourite one, if I remember correctly. I know there was one with Sal Rubnik. I want to say that was The Twilight Zone, unless it was The Outer Limits or something else. I mix those shows up a little bit. Let me know what you think in a comment below. And before we go, let's take a look at the answer of the day from a previous video. This one actually comes from Revenge's Ice Cream 306 and is something you've encountered in the last few years that makes you raise an eyebrow and think, well, it's harmless, I know that, but I still think it's wrong. Today's answer comes from, let's see. Deeper Things. Pumpkin Spice Gouda. My heavens. I've heard people do some awful things to cheese before, but pumpkin spice? Well, I never. I've had some unusual cheeses. Thank you very much for the answer, Deeper Things. I've had some unusual cheeses. I had a curry cheese that was actually quite nice. Then again, curry and cheese is actually kind of an oddly good combination. It's definitely not healthy, but it's kind of a yummy combination. And probably the most interesting cheese I had was black cheese, which is literally what it sounds like. It was a pack of cheese, sliced, and it was black. I can't remember what they used to make it black. It could have been charcoal. I know you can get ones that use charcoal. But it was actually kind of yummy, and I'm annoyed I can't find it anymore. The one downside I'll say about it is it didn't actually melt very well, because it was already pre-sliced, I got it to put it on burgers. Yummy, but didn't melt very well. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.